Hello and welcome to the STUK on Self-Love podcast. STUK Designs is a successful nonprofit for girls and a clothing brand run by young women from around the world. At STUK Designs, we believe in self-love first because self-love is the dawn that marks the beginning of all the different kinds of loves and because it undoubtedly sustains success. This podcast shines light on strong and talented women who excel and persevere in life while bathing in abundant self-love. So if you're ready to keep it real, level up in all your inner work, creative business, and community impact, then you've come to the right place because we provide you with content that helps your soul glow and your mind grow. Thank you for pressing play. Let's dive in.
Hey community. So in this episode, I really want to talk to you guys about advocacy and I guess in my case, art advocacy. But I wanted to share two clips from advocates that super inspire my path, my purpose, my journey. And I hope that the vibrations of their words will uplift and inspire you as well. But they also, I hope it just like weaves into this whole conversation because they really fuel their words, the words that they said, who they are as humanitarians really fuels the fight of my journey too, the flight of it too. So first we have DeWanda Wise. And she's amazing. She's in the Netflix version of She's Gotta Have It, and was an artist in that series. So check that out. But she's also a hardcore advocate. And so I wanted to let you guys hear what she had to say this week. So let's hear her.
History gives me a perverse kind of peace in moments like this. And I think that's why it's so important to keep accurate records and to protect access to the education of our nation's history. Now, I've been a part of organizing movements my entire life, and honestly, the work just doesn't stop. The more you integrate service and advocacy into your life in a sustainable way, the less intense these moments will feel, and most importantly, the more shit will actually get done. To Gen Z specifically, radical movements in this country have historically been youth movements. Now is not the time to feel disempowered. Commit yourselves to one course of action, an organization, a cause, and show up again and again and again. This is life work.
I also finally wanted to include a tried and true clip by Malcolm X. This clip actually was blocked on my personal Instagram, it was blocked many times. And so I just wanted to make it a part of this so that you can hear these words unblocked and be inspired by the fire and passion of movement that was within his heart. So let's hear this clip.
In every country that you go to, usually the degree of progress can never be separated from the woman. If you're in a country that's progressive, the woman is progressive. If you're in a country that reflects a consciousness toward the importance of education, it's because the woman is aware of the importance of education. But in every backward country, you'll find the women are backward. And in every country where education is not stressed, it's because the women don't have education. So one of the things I became thoroughly convinced of in my recent travels is the importance of giving freedom to the woman, giving her education, and giving her the incentive to get out there and put that same spirit and understanding in the children. And I frankly am proud of the contribution that our women have made in the struggle for freedom. And I'm one person who's for giving them all of the leeway possible because they've made a greater contribution than many of us men.
All right, let's talk. We're going to talk about advocacy. And I've been thinking about the openings, I've been thinking about how I want to do that or what I should call you guys. And, because it's sometimes hard to picture this audience that I'm talking to, who you are. But then I thought about it, and I don't know, the first visual that came in my mind was just like me in my college dorm sitting with Stacy, who's on the Fempreneur Friday podcast, and Kelly, who she actually edited our whole documentary film part of it, and she's fabulous too. But we were all college roommates, and we would just, have really deep combos every now and again, and just like chill in the living room, and we would just all share our thoughts. Oh, and Ash Francis also was our and then fourth amazing roommate. But we were just all four intellectuals and very spiritual women and very driven women. And we would just have these mind altering like conversations, and they would pull people into them too. Like so many people would always be at our dorm just because like we were real. We kept it real. We had real conversations. And so I think I'm going to just like visualize it kind of like that atmosphere, because that's what's comfortable for me. And no matter what age you are, what ethnicity you are, or where you are, just like it's a chill vibe. This is a chill podcast. This is a safe space. And we're just hanging out and talking about advocacy today. I mean, it's such a part of my life, and it's been so deeply ingrained in my life at such a young age that like advocacy is just normal to me as a person. But I've been thinking, and it just seems like, I mean, it's just, I just had, the epiphany. I don't know why it was epiphany for me, but that, wow, okay, like advocacy isn't just something that like everybody has ingrained in them. Like this is just, it's not a normal, I mean, I guess, to some people it's normal, to some people it's not. But from, the masses of people that I hang out with, like advocacy is not really at the top of the list. Unless I guess I'm in Oakland, because that's where I was born in Berkeley, actually, and raised in the OC until I was 6. And then we moved to Oakland. So, it was Oakland was a very different place when I was growing up in the 90s. And it was like a cultural melting pot. Like I never really even contemplated race at all until I got to college, because Oakland is just so diverse and so inclusive and so just like, it's just amazing. It's like a melting pot, a rainbow. It's just all cultures, everything mixed together. I think that it was Jay-Z who said that Oakland reminded him a lot of Brooklyn. And I've been to Brooklyn, and I think I can attest to that. And I love Brooklyn a ton. Like I really fucking love it. I love it. So yeah, I wanted to kind of like go back and talk about how my upbringing, I guess, like kind of filters into like who I am and why this stuff even matters to me, like why I care and why you should even care about things, but so for me, like growing up in Oakland is, the birthplace of the Black Panthers and hippies and all, like just all the movements, and Huey P. Newton. And it's just a very, like, our culture is really serious to us. Like it's a real strict thing, and it just matters. Like you're not judged in Oakland really, I think, firstly on, like how much money you have or what bag that is, but it's more so like what kind of like conversation you can hold, what knowledge, what you're doing in the world, and it's changed a lot now because of gentrification. But I'd like to say that the natives are still holding it down. We're still trying to like hold down the fort of the principles it was built on. And it was predominantly Black, which is crazy because now it's predominantly white. So, that's crazy, but it was just it was a different time in the 90s. Like, it was just, culture was everywhere and exploding, and everyone wanted to understand culture and be immersed in culture and raise their kids, knowing different cultural aspects of life. And that's why, like, every kid who grew up in Oakland can definitely tell you like a different, probably crazy in your mind, story of like how they grew up or what they experienced. Like, I had friends that grew up going to an African school and have all of these different experiences that they grew up with. And like, I had Asian friends, I had Filipino friends, I had Mexican friends, I had Ecuadorian friends, I had Belizean friends. Like, I just had so many different kinds of friends that I never even thought about race until I moved to LA. And that was in college. But like, so growing up, I grew up really cultured, like learning photography really young, growing up going to museums, eating every kind of food, growing up hearing all different kinds of languages. And like, my best friend growing up was from her mom was from Iran, and her dad was white, but like, I knew how to write my name in Farsi. And I grew up going to so many museums, like, and learning all about Egypt, so I knew how to write my name in Egyptian, all before I even got to middle school. And in middle school was really like the interesting part of my story, because I think that it heavily ties into my advocacy now, and like why I even care, and why it's kind of ingrained in me. But in the 7th grade, I went to this middle school in Oakland. It was called Hillcrest. And it was a very interesting kind of free education. It wasn't like, like free flowing, like just, it was just free flowing education. Like, it wasn't so structured, it wasn't so strict and rigid, like their map of education and how they want to educate and expand the children there. And I don't know if you guys know who the rapper Bobby Brackens is, but we went to middle school together there, and I think it really it probably shaped who he is as a person too, in a lot of ways. But it was a different kind of upbringing, man. It was a different kind of school. So in the 7th grade, I had this teacher, and now as an adult looking back, I understand what happened, but he basically had a spiritual awakening happen to him while he was teaching 7th grade. And so it changed him, and it started shaping like what he wanted to tell us, what he wanted to show us, what he wanted to teach us, what was important. So we started out by like watching the very first Matrix. It was like when the Matrix just came out, and I was in the 7th grade, and that was like, whoa, this is a lot. Okay, all right. But I'm a Gemini. My mind's like a computer. I'm really smart. So I'm like, okay, I think I understand the basic concepts of this. This feels a little early to learn, but we're good here. Okay. Then he goes and he dives deeper, and he teaches us like Nation of Islam things, because bouncing off of, Malcolm, which was attached to Malcolm X, because he was very obsessed with like Malcolm X, his teachings, his principles or whatever. So he would then he had us, I think first we read the autobiography of Malcolm X. Yes, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X when I was 12. So it was that's a wild upbringing now that I think about it. But it was a deep novel, and it was a complex novel, and it was tough to read, but it just was so good, and I was just so compelled to like finish it. And then once we finished it, he let us finally watch the Spike Lee film, and that was amazing. Like that changed my life. Like, and I was just in awe of his story, and the fact that it's like his story kind of ended like mine kind of began, because my story began when I've always understood that we are all one. We are a people together, that unity is needed, that coming together is needed. Like, but that's just built in my system because like growing up in Oakland, there was everyone everywhere, and we never even saw. I mean, you think that's a thing, like, because mostly just like white people say it, like, oh, we don't even see color, blah, 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 blah. But at that time, as a kid growing up in Oakland, no, I really didn't. I was never judged. I never was made feel weird or anything. That the only time when that started to happen in Oakland was when the tech people started to move in, and more white people came in from middle America, and the vibe changed like a whole lot, really deeply. Like, and that's why I've had some of the crazy job experiences that I've had, because the gentrification has been so hardcore. But yeah, advocacy is something that's been very deeply ingrained in my system since a very young age, and I'm just always thinking about it. I'm always thinking about, okay, well, what's going on? Okay, well, what is this outside of this or this? Because I mean, I think it makes sense when you think about like, if like a 12-year-old watching The Matrix, so yeah, art advocacy and just like advocacy in general has always been kind of like weaved within my system since that age, because he was actually a very smart teacher, even though he was like in the midst of what some might call a breakdown, what others may call like a spiritual awakening, but it was it was very smart the way that he taught like modules. And I don't know what part of the module The Matrix was, honestly. I think he just tacked that on there. But like we learned about the Nation of Islam, and then we learned about Islam, and then like we talked about Malcolm X and like the links between the two, and like the difference between the two, and what it kind of means within the aspect of the larger world. And he really just like explained the depths of his life in the film, and Spike Lee's film. And so it was fascinating. It was mind-opening, and I'm just like a thirsty for knowledge Gemini. Like I just love to learn. Like, I don't know, I just always I that's who I am. I just, so like anytime information hits me that I'm like excited about or that fascinates me, I just want to learn all about it. And so I was really into everything that was being put forward. And then he also actually taught us to public speak, which is a thing for me, because I don't know, I don't think it's natural for me to be like shy or anything, but the upbringing I had and the suppression that I faced, and like just not being ever able to be myself or really speak my mind, really just like kind of messed with my throat chakra. And I just was all like locked up inside. And so I thought that I kind of had stage fright, I think just because of my nerves. And he kind of snapped me out of that. And when a teacher kind of knows you're special and like you get extra attention, I kind of had that. And he helped kind of break me out of that cycle of being afraid to speak, which, I mean, thank God, right? Because here we are. But yeah, so advocacy is something that's just like always been in how I was raised, where I was raised, what people do. Like, I don't understand anything else. Like, if times are really hard and something is just wrong or not right, I can't just sit there in silence. Like, I have to figure out how to do something. I have to draw something. I have to say something. I have to, like, I want everyone to feel equal, to feel empowered, to feel loved, to know that self-love is this power, you know, that you can have, that we all can have. And I want people to have more knowledge and to have more culture, you know. Also the same middle school that I grew up in going to, you know, like I had a Spanish teacher, and, you know, well, I think I can get by with Spanish, you know, I got high enough, but she really took it upon herself to just really teach us how to salsa dance. Like, she was a white Cuban lesbian Spanish teacher who, instead of teaching us Spanish, really just taught us how to salsa, which I'm actually super, super fucking grateful that she did, because I don't think I ever would have been able to salsa dance, you know? Now that I'm thinking and processing, but yeah, I don't think I would have been able to salsa dance if it wasn't for that. Like, at a very young age, I was like, oh, okay, I know how to salsa. I can always do this. This is going to be fun. Like, life is going to be great. But so it was just those interesting, like, things about Oakland. You just, like, learn culture. You learn different, you know, ways to dance, to speak, to move, to, and, you know, as a Gemini air sign, I also have the ability to just kind of like move through things and through systems and through life kind of in an airy way. So it's been easy for me to, like, speak to people and understand with people, like, what's going on, and to really feel people and resonate with people from different cultures. So, like, I understand the collective on a kind of unique level, just because I've known people from literally, like, every culture, you know, and grew up in, you know, different households, you know, from Mien to, like, Filipino to Mexican to everywhere in between, honestly. And, you know, and then their parents growing up became my parents growing up. And it was just like a very close-knit community that we had in Oakland. And I think that's why, you know, Oakland was kind of just like targeted as, and still is kind of as, a threat, because we believe in the power of community. We believe in, like, respecting people, you know, no matter what their race is, and we believe in standing up for what's right, and we believe in protecting our communities and our kids, and we believe that the kids are the future, and so they matter the most because they're going to shape what is to come. And we just have a very solid, like, G code. Like, it's not a game. Like, we just have a very, and, you know, I will say that it's not that different from the actual solid code that LA natives have either, but LA just gets a bad rap because, you know, just like so many foreigners, I guess, like what's happening in Oakland now, come in and, you know, or just like have stars in their eyes and are all about Hollywood and the fame and the glitz and glam. And, you know, it's not about the morals, the values, the things that hold society and people's hearts and souls together, and friendships together, and families together, and, you know, and your significant other together, and all of that. So I guess, and so I just have this kind of strict kind of code that I grew up with. And, you know, also my dad is from Jersey, and so, like, he raised me with very like G codes, like, that I, you know, even against him, that I have to, I feel like, abide by sometimes, like. And it's just like, and I grew up very young, you know, watching Goodfellas, you know, watching gangster films. Like, it just was a very interesting upbringing. Like, I learned a lot at a very young age. And like, and I think I've told you guys before, like, I had to be the one to break it to, you know, my mom, that my dad wasn't being so faithful in a relationship at, like, the age of 10. So it's like, wow, I think I have a very, you know, youthful kind of outward appearance and I'm very like happy and joyful, but like that's just because I really just love life. I really love like being here, and that's just like how I am, no matter how many people try to like get in the way of that. It's just like built in me who I am. And I think it's, as a Gemini, I will say, I know it's built into like how a lot of us are. And I am so just like, gosh, with every Gemini that I've met along my journey and along this journey of advocacy and self-love and finding myself, and I'm just so grateful to the ones that I've found along my path, because it's just such life livers and such good hearts. And that's really what like STUK is about, and that's like what my vision with STUK has always been about. Strong, talented, united, and knowledgeable. I remember for a while I changed united to unique, because I felt like people didn't understand the fact that we are all united, like as women, as people of color, as as oppressed people. A lot of the time, like whatever it is, like we're all in this together. Like we're all on this earth, doing this earth thing together. And like I think now it's kind of becoming more evident, now that like the government is kind of trying to divide us in so many different ways, like from COVID to social media banning and the censorship and blocking posts and this and that, that creates division. But like once we remember and can really remember that we are actually all one and we are stronger together, I think like, the light bulbs have kind of been going on in people, and people understand the power of unity now. And so after a while, like a couple of years ago, actually, I changed it back to unity, because I was like, okay, maybe people get it. maybe it's cool. I hope so. I hope we get it now, that like, especially as women, like we do not always need to be in competition. We don't always need to be checking what the other one is doing, or how somebody might be one-upping us, or talking to him, or this or that. Like we have bigger things to do in the world now, people. Like there is a lot going on. And for me as an advocate, I believe in protecting girls, especially girls of color, especially Black girls. And I believe in also protecting our creative right, and our right to have joy and to express joy, because that's also part of this like this separation and suppression. It like really lowers levels of joy, because community brings joy. And so and that's also like why I do this podcast, and why STUK does all the things that does to like pull people in with the blog, and with Madeline's No Filter podcast, with Fempreneur Friday, the podcast, like with our triptych of podcasts. It's really just to pull people in to community, and to remembering that we are in this together. Like we're all experiencing highs and lows and weird shit that happens within society, especially within like a crumbling society. And and it's okay to be our authentic, raw, real selves in that. And that's also why, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but what is that thing like that they say on TikTok? I think it's like something, but I cuss a little. I should just I full authenticity wise, I have been kind of trying to limit like the cussing on this pod, but like I mean it's kind of just how I talk. Like it's just kind of how I talk. So here and there I'll just have to throw that in there, because it's just who I am when I'm actually authentically really talking about something. So in an ode to just no censorship and full freedom of speech, let me just slide that in there. But advocacy, I just feel like it's just so important. It's such a deeply, vastly like important, like grounding structure within lives, because I think it was Martin Luther King, who said, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And in a culture and world and society like this, that's really true, because like we need to be observant. We need to watch out, and we need to look out. We need to look out for our neighbors, for our friends, for our sisters, for our brothers, for people around us, for, just and just like making sure that everyone is okay and feeling safe, and knowing that like they can have safe space within, maybe us, or the spaces that we cultivate, or the platforms that we cultivate, because times are very strange right now. And especially in America, like if you're listening to this outside of America, like, you're lucky, maybe. I don't know. But like, it's just some weird things that, have kind of been happening. And more than ever, I feel like it's a call for, unity and advocacy. And my, method of advocacy is really art. And it's just always been my form of pushing forward joy as like a resistant act of defiance, because I feel like with all the media does, it just really like lowers down your vibe. It lowers down your thought cycle. It just dumbs you down, and and you can't get up to that level of joy that you're used to anymore. And so, and art helps, fuel joy, whether it's singing, whether it's writing, whether it's poetry, whether it's dance, whether it's theater, whether it's ballet, whatever it is, it can fuel your light, your inner light back up, that inner spark. And at STUK, we're all about that inner spark and letting it shine, and letting your voices shine out, and letting yourselves be heard, like for me, this is like not actually easy for me at all, speaking out, sharing my voice. But I mean, I don't know if you guys are into astrology, but you can probably tell by now that I am. And I have a North Node in Aries, I just have some strong Aries placements. My parents are both Aries, and it's like, although my Taurus moon just kind of wants to curl up and chill by the pool and nap, like, and have cocktails and a lot of mojitos and nap in the sun a lot. But that can't really happen because it's just like I have this force and this pull, and also this upbringing of advocacy, like really just like pulling me and jolting me into awakeness, alertness, and awareness during this time. And it's just like so I just find that I have so much to say. And and I have a friend who he always says that like or in the past I guess would tell me, that I'm a talker, like that I like to talk. And because I grew up kind of like being suppressed talking, I think I didn't realize how much I actually did like to talk. And I probably talked his ear off, and I probably talk a lot of my friends' ear off a lot of the time. So that's why also like podcast is good for me. I can get this side out, and not at the bar talk to my friends about what is happening with, political suppression and this and that, and all of the politics and this and that of what's happening in the US and within the art world as a structure as well. But yeah, for me, it's just like in my veins. It's like what do you call it? Like it's just like a fiery passion for me. And it just like jolts me awake and into awareness and makes me do certain things and say certain things, because I'm just not okay with like oppression. I'm not okay with my neighbor not being good. I'm not okay with children not having opportunities and and to feel like they're trapped in their own minds or something because they don't know, they have no education, or they don't know anything else, or they don't know about meditation and the power that can like give to open the mind and to free yourself. And so I just have a lot in my heart, and like that I just feel needs to be spoken out for during these times. And so although part of me, the Taurus moon in me, really just, I just really could go without honestly ever speaking out or being in the public eye. But it's just this some internal push in me is always like, no, Brett, you know that this needs to be said. You know that like you need to go here, you need to touch upon this, because if you don't, who will? And that's always what we say, like within our STUK team, like if we don't, who will? Who else is doing this work right now? And and I know that some people there are some amazing communities out here really doing the work and really pushing and propelling things, but I think we just need, like, more connection needs to happen. We need to actually not be afraid to talk to each other. I think that's also like a difference in my upbringing from like other people, I guess. Oakland in some ways is kind of like the South in the way that we speak to each other. We greet each other, we are kind to each other, we offer things to each other, we borrow things from our neighbors, we're friendly, we wear our heart on our sleeves, and we give and we give and we serve. And that's a part of like just our culture and how we're raised, really. And it's honestly, now that I think about it, like, I don't know, I just feel like the baby boomers get a lot of slack, for like, it's just like, well, why did you guys stop and blah blah blah. But then we realize like there were a lot of factors in that. And but anyway, I feel like baby boomers definitely raised their kids to be able to push this mission forward, even if they didn't really say it. I think in a lot of ways they did, like and probably not rightly so, but I just feel like I was very harshly raised. I was very like, no, you can figure it out, you can handle it, like you get it yourself, you do it, like a warrior. Like I remember the first time my dad took me and my brother to Europe, it was like a fucking like a military trip. Like we had to have our luggage packed that we could carry. If you can't carry it, you're gonna get left. If you're not fast enough, you're gonna get left. Like it was just very like military, like. But I mean, it's just like I know that they've been through different things and experiences in this culture, and I mean, I hope we don't have to experience the same things, but I would have loved to be raised with more awareness of self-love and more awareness of love and unconditional love in general. But I do see how the harshness kind of serves me in times like these, because I can deal with things. I can just do what I have to do. I know I can say what I need to say because I was like born to do this, because I was educated to do this, because in these times I know that few else will. So that it's like fuel in me. I think it's fuel in a lot of Oakland natives, those who are Oakland born. Although I know that a lot of people live elsewhere, and I don't know. It's just like, but I think no matter where we are, we still were raised with these like very conscious ideals, and almost to the point where like, I mean, a lot of aspects of consciousness were like, whoa, and awakening and self-love, and that journey were like, whoa, that's crazy to me. But also a lot of it was just like stuff that was kind of like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we just do that in Oakland. Like that's just how people behave. Like that's just code. Like that's just what we do. Like that's just how it is. But yeah. So I clap so much when I'm talking. I do not mean to do that. But hey, I guess do you, that is our slogan. I'm doing me, and sometimes I do happen to clap. And I would definitely tell my college roomies that. So but yeah, so I think like in your own lives, in thinking about advocacy and what's important and what you value, etc. I mean, for me, I guess I would say I was always just like an advocate before, but until I matured, grew up, read a lot of books, researched a lot of things, I didn't figure out like where my passion lies in the game, in the fight, in being an advocate. And for that, I think you just have to write a lot. You have to experience life. You have to journal. You have to read. You have to listen to podcasts. You have to listen to other speakers. You have to honor other teachers and sit with them and be humble and be silent and be patient and take everything as a lesson and everyone as a teacher. And I think that when you start opening your eyes to that and to like the wonder that is life and what it is trying to teach you, then what is important and what is your place in this fight, or what is your, position, or what is where your heartstrings lie, will just unfold to you, within the path. Like, because it always will probably relate to your experience also, like what you've felt oppression in or struggle in, and what you're frustrated about, and maybe who you feel is underserved and deserves rights and deserves to be advocated for. But I think it's just such an individual path, and I do now understand that, I guess, I really, in my mind for a long time, I just felt like, oh yeah, everybody's an advocate. Everybody gives back. Everybody believes in something. Everybody fights for something. But I just now know that that's definitely my personality, and especially as a Gemini. And I guess because of that, and because it does bring me a lot of joy, also because I'm not ever too attached to like outcome, or this has to absolutely happen this way, although I would really, really love it to go this way. Like if things don't happen exactly my way, that's okay, because I know that life is beautiful, and I know that I'm beautiful, and I know that everyone I'm working with is beautiful and expansive, and that I'm blessed to even have been able to connect with them on this journey and this life and this path. And and I'm just always so grateful, and I'm so thankful for like everything that is surrounding me, and like being in this room right now, and I'm surrounded by plants and singing bowls and my painting, and just I'm really happy. And I think that just being able to like pull people together for a common cause, and to be able to speak out on just the things that our hearts are really calling out to be spoken for, for somebody to mention, like, yeah, hey, let's actually not listen to the media, and not spiral into these like waves of fear and of malice and of jealousy and of greed. And let's like let's do a vibe check, and let's really, I think, worrying about how just worrying about your quality of self, and making sure that you are a better person today than you were yesterday, and maybe thinking about how you're going to be a better person tomorrow than you were today, and just like elevating and bringing people with you who you love, and sending people energy and prayers who you love. And I think it's just about building right now and growing and like coming together. And so I hope this inspires you. Maybe if you aren't an advocate, or you don't know like what do I advocate for? Or what is even important to stand up for? Like maybe this will inspire you to research some, or to read some books, or to, pull up in history, like events that fascinate you, and etc., that you might be drawn to, that's maybe then linked to your ancestry, and you find some deep-seated like passion, like, yes, that's it, that's what I need to fight for, like that's who I need to speak up for. And I don't know, but I think we all underplay the value of each individual so much. Like, they say if one, if one person lights a match in a dark room, the whole room lights up. The whole room lights up and glows and illuminates for everyone. It's just like we each have so much power, and we each underestimate that power so much every day. And like this culture and the media and society and other people and bickering and gossip and that all of that yada yada yada, and like having to defend ourselves against haters and this and that, I think that just takes away so much from the joy and the beauty that is living in this life and is experiencing with the friends and the people that we love. And it's just like we get wrapped up in like the propaganda and the nonsense that they want us to get wrapped up in, like, and we forget about, well, wait a minute, what about searching for this higher goal? And what about evolution? And what about coming together? And what about searching for our knowledge? And what about helping others and making sure that like the world that we're raising our kids in is safe and beautiful and open and inclusive, and they're not discriminated against, and they have opportunities in any arena they go into, especially the art world. And whatever that is, it's like we need to think about these things. We need to come together. We need to talk about these things. And this podcast is really just like an invitation to do that. And I want you guys to feel like our family, to feel like our friends, to feel like our community, to feel like we're talking to you like in our dorm room, in our rooms, in our offices, in wherever we are in the world, and to just have these conversations together, because a lot of us are having them. And and then the more we like community connect and cross community connect, the bigger it can all be. But in order for that to happen, there needs to be an aspect of self-love, because otherwise we're just bickering and we're comparing each other and we're in competition when just the state of the world is too important right now for all that low level nonsense. Like we need to, at a higher level, be able to come together and have real conversations about real change, and to each person by each person being able to elevate vibe and spirit and frequency, and then thus be able to build physical, tangible projects and out in the community and out with people. I mean, like what Nipsey Hussle was doing, like what so many others we're trying to do. We need to pick up the torch where they left off, because if no other time, the time is definitely now. So that's why I'm getting on here and speaking more, because my advocacy button, my bubble of advocacy is just like rising to the surface. And my hardcore advocate Gemini side is like, no, it's time. We need to just say these things. We need to just speak out. We need to be honest. We need to be open. We need to be real. We need to keep it real, because STUK has always been about keeping it real. We've always been about speaking your mind. We've always been about telling it exactly how it is. And so, also if you're listening to this and you are my friend, and we have had interviews in the past with STUK or whatever, and you have some amazing art you're working on, or amazing project you want to push forward, please contact us. Also, Tazeen is an amazing interviewer, and let's get community flowing more. Let's lift this vibe, whether we're blocked on social media or not. Life is so much more than Instagram. It's so much more than these apps that are trying to chain us into the system through their systems and the systems and the systems, escape the agents, escape all of that, and just let's float off, let's vibe out, let's chill one time, let's love each other, let's build together, grow together, worry less, and push things in the right direction. Because when we are all believing in this calm and this higher goal, these higher ideals, that this can be possible, that more is possible, then together, we can rise. Our individual lives will rise, the company rises, which only just makes girls of color be able to have more opportunities and to be able to expand and actually have a place within the art world to begin with. So advocacy, I'd say, is super important, guys. That's really it. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep trying to come on here as my most authentic self in order to promote that you be your most authentic self, that you do you, that you love yourself first. And hey, maybe also that you interact with STUKdesigns.org and get into our meditations, get into our blog. Our lookbooks are fire. Our shop is fire. Like, everything is heat. And I can't believe I created it, but I did. And I'm going to stop being so humble about that aspect of it because it's lit. And you guys should shop it, and you should be uplifted and elevate your vibe and your spirit every time you sip out of your STUK mug, and every time that you see your STUK canvas on your wall, telling you that you're unfuckable with, because you are. We are all queens. We are all baddies. If you're a guy, thank you for watching this. I am honored. Like, feminist men are welcome too. Womanist men are welcome too, whatever you want to call it. But let's advocate for something, everyone. Let's try to advocate for something. If you've never tried before, maybe buy a new book. Expand your mind, go to a gallery, go to a museum, learn something new about the state of the world and what's happening, and find out what makes your passion rise, what makes your drive just go crazy. Like, what a time to be alive. It's an interesting time in the world, but it doesn't need to be sad. We don't need to be like all just in, a sad state because, externally there's a facade of women's rights being taken away. We own our rights. We are our sovereign selves. We are the divine feminine. Like, we own our bodies. We own our minds. We own our companies. We have this. We got this. And I'm wishing you guys so much love. So many blessings, and until the next episode, I love you guys so much. STUK community.
Hey, beautiful people! We at STUK Designs have begun our crowdfunding campaign with iFund Women supported by Caress. We are raising money for expanding our programs, manufacturing art kits, setting up our studio that will be a space to empower women and girls through art and self-love, and a lot of other work that we have planned. We would love your help in our mission to provide girls in underserved communities art education and help them recognize and utilize the power of self-love. Visit our website www.stukdesigns.org for a link to our campaign.
Hey, STUK community, we would like to invite you all to step into the movement with us. We believe that art saves lives and self-love heals. Self-love is so important because it is an aspect of mental health. So we want to drop the negative stigma attached to mental health and combine self-love with art. So we created this cute little coloring sheet for you all to color in and help support us in our cause and just to get involved. Even if you don't have any funds to give, that is okay. You can still support because art saves lives and self-love heals. So check the link in our bio to get involved, to color in your sheet this weekend, tap into your inner child. We are sending you so much love and light, and thank you to each and every one of you who has already supported.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. You can visit our website, www.stukdesigns.org, to shop our merch, make donations, join our blogging team, or be a part of our affiliate program. See you in our next episode. Love and light from us to you.